Ready Check Radio.
Stand by as we get ready to serve up all your news this week in the world of gaming. Welcome to Gaming Gumbo. What's up, Internet? It is Saturday, it is 7 p.m., and we're on Ready Check Radio. That means it's time for Gaming Gumbo, your weekly gaming wrap-up show. It is December 19th. I'm Mike Byrne. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you head over to ReadyCheckRadio.com, RAIDEO.com, so you can follow all of our socials, including Twitch and Spotify, if you like just audio versions of this. But more importantly, join us live, whether it's for one of our 3 shows, Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturdays, all at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can check out the panels below on Twitch or on the website, or any one of our streamers, all of our volunteer streamers who love just dedicating their time to share their passion with you. And I got a couple gentlemen that are going to help me do that tonight, as we've got a lot to talk about. It was a big week, but it was a big week for one particular game. Last week, we had a ton of different shit to talk about with all the game awards and the different titles there. Yeah, pretty much it's just like about one this week. We got some other stuff, though, so it won't all be Cyberpunk 2077. But, Mr. Jason Winter, we will be talking quite a bit about the old 2077.
Yep. And now if both of us have the hat, which one of us is Mrs. Claus? One of us is Santa, and the other one...
We can't both just be Santa?
Good. All right, sure. Santa.
I don't really want to be Mrs. Claus.
Clone Santa?
Like, Mrs. Claus is cool, but she doesn't really, like do anything.
Hey, she supports Santa, and it's that support that helps him.
Chad is saying, I'm Santa, you're the Grinch.
I'm the Grinch? Oh,
the Grinch does
on.
Wear Santa's hat.
He does wear Santa's hat, but I don't have a little dog that I abuse, so it can't be that. Unless the little dog is yacht. Is that it then?
Yeah, and my hat does, in fact, my hat does have the belt. My hat has the belt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fancy.
What do you wear belts on all your clothes for? You're a Final Fantasy character?
Also on the line, not in a Santa hat. What's up, Yod? Your Discord camera's doing that stupid thing again.
Oh, I'm going
I
off.
hope it catches. It'll probably catch up in a second.
I'm betting it's the Yule log. That's all I got.
Yeah, you got like a Yule log burning back there. That's very holiday-ish.
Yeah, nobody told me I was supposed to have a hat.
Well, we're like that. We like to just surprise each other. Just here's what we're doing today. Jason on the free-to-play cast just all of a sudden went deaf. So, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, go watch Friday's free-to-play cast. It's on YouTube and on mmobomb.com. Even if you aren't interested in the games we're talking about, I guarantee you the first 20 minutes is well worth your while.
I was thinking, Yacht, if you have like Spocky or something, you can put those on and be an elf.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that could work.
Why's the short guy got to be an elf, huh?
I have no idea. You could be like 6'2" for all I know. I don't know.
We've never seen you standing.
I don't know.
See, but at least we have seen legs, like Zach Sharp's on MMO Bomb. We always joked on the podcast that he either had no legs or he had robot legs, because we just never knew. We've seen your legs. We've never seen you stand
my knee
up.
right here.
Right. How tall are you? Is it okay to ask that? Like, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'2".
5'2".
That's right. Yeah, 5'2".
Okay.
Jason, you're taller than that.
Oh yeah, I'm 5'11".
You're 5'11". Okay.
I think it's a stereotype.
How tall are you then, Mike?
I'm 6'1".
Okay.
So.
If I go to Asia, I'm average height.
I'm not touching that with a 6'1" pole. All right, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad going on. Right now, obviously, a lot more bad because it's in the throes of its launch, which really isn't going all that well due to some... Well, it's very weird, right? It's one of those things where, Jason, they pre-ordered 8 million copies to the tune of, mostly obviously on the PC side of things, but not as much as you might think. It was like a 59-41 split PC to consoles. Is this you're really 6'3"? Like, I knew you were like tall, lanky, but I didn't know you were that tall.
You have like the height chart now.
Anyway, the Ready Check Radio height graph. Just all the hosts. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I didn't know you were 6'3". My dad was 6'4", but yeah, that's anyway. It's neither here nor there. So yeah, it's like it's really a good and bad mix. So like first off, we got the announcements. The game came out, then we played it. We streamed it twice. We did like a 3-hour stream on release day. Then we held and waited for the first round of patches to go in, and then streamed like another 3 or 3.5 hours the other day, or like 2 or 3 days after launch day. And I gotta say, like the game itself, let's talk about that first. Just like the game in general. I am enjoying it as a player. I really don't want to spoil anything, so we'll just put it vaguely. We are past the point where we have met Keanu Reeves. And I'll just leave it at that. If you've played the game, you know like how far roughly I am into the story. We're past that point where we have actually met Keanu Reeves in game. And we'll leave it there. So, we don't have a ton of time in it. We did some open world things. We were messing around on stream with some of those things. So even though I've played for like 7 hours or so, 7 hours and 12 minutes, according to Steam, we really haven't done a whole lot. We got into some of the story, but then we just started screwing around, looking at things, seeing is this world as in-depth as CD Projekt Red advertised it and all that stuff. And I'm actually enjoying the game proper, the game itself, the interaction with the core NPCs, the interaction with the story. I'm going to hold judgment on like the open world aspect of it, because although we did fart around with it on stream, like we really haven't dedicated any hardcore time to go do bounties and things like that. So I got to give the game like an initial positive impression on that front. And I'm setting aside bugs, which we did have some on stream, particularly with like floating dead bodies and
really?
shit like that. Yeah, that's my main gripe. I actually did apply for a Steam refund. Whether I get one or not, I don't care. I'm not all that upset about the game. It's just, hey, do I get my money back and I buy the game next year, or does this sit in my backlog and I play it next year after the patches are done? But I think I've got to step back from it right now, because although it is funny, like amusing funny, it is really like immersion breaking for me. It's like I can't get into something that I'm constantly now looking for things to be wrong, because there are so many things wrong.
Isn't floating things just a hallmark of the CD Projekt Red games with horses and Witcher and all that stuff?
Yeah, and
so
we're seeing a lot.
Feature.
We're seeing a lot of that exact argument, Jason, and I know that's got to be driving you nuts. Like CD Projekt Red, well, when the Witcher launched, there were bad things there too. They'll fix it. It's fine. And yeah, fine, maybe you feel that way. And I feel like CD Projekt Red will likely get the game in a much more controlled state. I think there's other problems that are a little less likely to be fixed that we'll talk about a little further down the road here. But as far as bugs and everything, yeah, they'll likely get that fixed, whether it's because they want to repair their reputation right now, or because they literally have to repair their reputation right now. They're under a little bit of fire. But I hate the argument that, if you're unhappy with it, just wait. No, if you're unhappy with it and you want a refund and you're on a platform that's offering you a refund, Jason, I don't think just the acknowledgement of, well, they fixed The Witcher should give you any comfort or solace into not seeking a refund.
I mean, it shouldn't be that way with any product. If they're selling it to you as a finished product, then it should be a finished product. So.
Yeah, and they're patching like crazy. Stick's pointing out that they just released another one like 10, 15 minutes ago. They're releasing basically one a day at this point.
Yeah, they kind of have to. No Christmas break for them, which is sad because they've probably been crunching for like a year already. But
yeah,
right. So let me get your two impressions. I know neither of you have had hands-on time. Jason, you joked at some of the performance issues with the game on your initial impressions, whether it was my stream or some other streams. Now that you've had maybe another week to watch a little bit more, again, let's sidestep the bugs and the controversy stuff. Guys, we're not avoiding it. We definitely are about to talk about it. But I don't want this whole thing to be let's just shit on the game because it's easy to shit on the game now.
Damn, that's what I was planning on.
You'll get your chance, but it is an easy target to a certain extent. I just don't want it to be skewed. I do enjoy the game itself, and I think I would enjoy seeing the rest of at least the main story play out if I didn't get into the open world stuff at all. And I think I would enjoy the open world stuff anyway. So it is something I do, but I just can't play it right now for me. It's too, we saw bodies floating in elevators that we had already killed while we're standing in them, and our two characters are having a conversation this is not happening. There is no body that keeps floating up and down in the elevator. And when that type of stuff continues, I can't take any of it seriously. I'm fix this stuff first. So Jason, in your travels around the internet, how has your opinion changed? It grown, maybe lessened in the last week here?
I mean, not really a whole lot. I haven't watched a whole lot since then, but I still got the same general impression though, because I remember a month ago I watched people streaming Watch Dogs Legion, and when I started watching Cyberpunk streams, I thought this looks kind of similar. It's the same sort of near future hacking stuff and going around having jobs to do, big open world, big city like that. It reminded me a lot of the same kind of thing of Watch Dogs, and I liked watching that. I thought it'd be something I might want to try someday, and Cyberpunk still fits in that same vein of having that same kind of action and gameplay. That looks like it would be a lot of fun to play if it worked properly.
Yad, are you in the same boat? Have you watched it a little more, enjoying more of it?
I've been trying to avoid a little bit because I do want to play it, and I don't want to. I'm guessing it's gonna happen eventually, but I don't want to spoil too much of it.
Right.
But some of the bugs it's just I want to play it, just not right now, and probably not on the current gen system I have.
Well, that's an interesting segue because
let's do it.
While I'm playing on the PC, I would hesitate to call the PC just unplayable. To me personally, it is unplayable, but not because the game doesn't function, not because the game doesn't boot up, not because the game doesn't allow me to progress in the story or anything. For me personally, it's unplayable just because I get thrown way out of the experience anymore. There's so many different things going wrong here and there that are noticeable, that then I start looking for things to be wrong, and now I'm not enjoying it as a game anymore. I'm enjoying it as a software engineer looking for bugs, So when I say for me it's unplayable, please don't misunderstand. I'm playing on a high-end PC. It has no problems running and allowing me to play the game. It's unplayable from a different perspective. I use the term unenjoyable rather than unplayable in my situation. However, last-gen consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One X, Jason, the term unplayable might be a little more apt in that experience.
Yeah, it just wouldn't work at all for a lot of people. I don't remember exactly what they said about all the different bugs or crashes or whatever, but yeah, it wasn't good. It just was not ready for those platforms to come out on, which is really sad when you consider that's what it was originally planned for.
It's like the 13 frames per second issue that has me going.
That's
Because I mean, I understand some games because all the systems and stuff now run completely online, and you can't be offline when you're playing stuff and things like that. So it's always connected. So some aspects are gonna stutter and some aspects are gonna slow down on frame rate. But 13 frames per second on a game that's supposed to be, mostly offline, you're single playering it, you're not really doing any kind of multiplayer action on it. That's kind of shitty. And
stop streaming your U-log while you're trying to play.
Right, yeah, it's all the U-log's fault. But yeah, so and I'm running on a first generation PS4 that I got when when Destiny came out. It's just not the special edition Destiny one. It is a first gen though.
Yeah, and it honestly, it doesn't get better when you look at even like PS4 Pro or Xbox Series X. Right now, we're showing you a shot of some Eurogamer reporting, where you can see the PlayStation 4 Pro version on the left during just some typical city walking. I put that in the totally wrong scene. I tried to do that very quickly, and I put it in the totally wrong scene and just covered Yacht up.
I've gone. I don't exist anymore.
All right, so we'll let you see me make the edit this time. I tried to do it in transition in the background, but I had the wrong scene queued up.
And you're making fun of me for muting myself.
Hey, you can still hear me, and you can still see the picture. You just couldn't see Yacht anymore. We gotta go back to this one.
We are on a show talking about bugs and stuff. It only makes sense.
There we go. All right, all fixed. So PS4 Pro version on the left, 23 frames per second. Xbox One X, 17 frames per second. And for those of you that aren't frames per second junkies, you'd notice. You would notice.
Yeah, because
human eye is like
particularly the Xbox One X at 17. To give you an idea, movies used to be filmed, generally they're filmed faster than this now, but they used to be filmed at 24 frames per second. That is what you need to simulate motion, so that the human eye can't discern that it is looking at still images. Your gaming, you probably have wanted for a while at least 30 frames per second. More recently, at least 60 frames per second for most PC players. Again, that may vary based on your rig, but 30 to 60 frames. 17 is when anything below 30, your eye can start to pick it apart. And anything below 24, your eye can sense stoppage in the image itself, or chop in the image itself. So, and these are the high-end last-gen consoles, Jason. These aren't the original PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. These are the X and the Pro, the enhanced hardware. Now, here's the really big thing that bothers me on this. Not only are there huge performance issues, frame rates is not just it. It's bugs. It's not running. We're going to get to some really fun ones later that ought to really. I think it would be fair if you called this one unplayable when you're talking about these consoles. But here's the problem. They only had 3 launch SKUs. This wasn't like they launched PC. A PC copy, a PS5 copy, an Xbox Series 1 copy, and a PlayStation 4 copy, and an Xbox Series or an Xbox One copy. They did not launch next-gen copies. Remember that. There was no PS5, and there was no Xbox Series X version. Those come next year with free upgrades if you bought the ones now. Now, they did say that they added some design into the PS4 and Xbox One versions that would take advantage of PS5 or Xbox Series X capabilities a little bit, but they weren't the official versions. So they only launched with 3 SKUs, a PS4, an Xbox One, and a PC, 2 of which are virtually unplayable in a lot of cases, Jason. This is nuts.
Yeah, and it shouldn't matter really whether you have an older or a newer PS4 or Xbox. Again, if you're advertising that it's available on that platform, it should be available on that, regardless of what it is. Now, it could be, 35 frames per second versus 40. Okay, sure, but it's just they should still be playable no matter what kind of platform you have.
And when you only have those 3 SKUs, Yod, you would not expect some of the things we're about to talk about to be the responses from the directors of the company. That's the concerning part here. So taking you through the sequence of events, Yod, you get this, then... Oh, go ahead.
Wait 1 second. Just so that people understand what SKUs mean. That means there's 3 different versions. One version for PC, one for Xbox, one for PS4.
Sorry, that's my retail.
I know. That's why I wanted to make sure that the people listening and the people watching know what SKUs mean.
A SKU is the ID number that identifies the product at the store when they scan
when
the
you
bar.
scan it, yeah.
Right. So there's only 3 different versions of it. There's no unique other versions of it. So please go on.
So obviously, backlash starts pretty much from day 2, right? Day 1 is everybody trying it out. Day 2 is now backlash. Stock initially takes a pretty big hit as the founders Yod of the team lost $1 billion in wealth after the initial launch. That's after they announced, hey, we pre-ordered 8 million copies, 59% PC, 41% on consoles. 8 million. 8 million. That's huge. But because of the backlash, the reviews, the bugs on 2 out of 3 of those SKUs, the stock went down. And by the way, they didn't actually lose $1 billion. That's not the way this works for people that don't play the stock market or aren't familiar with it at all. But if the stock is worth $100, that is, and you own 1 share, then Jason is considered to have $100 worth of wealth tied up in that stock. If it becomes worth 50, he lost half of his wealth in that stock. So when it says they lost $1 billion, it's not like the cash was taken right from their hands at that exact moment. But as far as their net worth, that is a huge hit in a day. In a day.
You mean the Beagle Boys didn't come in and raid their money? It's like that? Would it work like that?
Yeah, we're talking liquid assets, not solid cash.
Okay.
That's huge.
Damn,
that's huge.
That's
even more than that, when I read that article, I see that it says that the average forecast for 12-month sales fell to 25.6 million from almost 30 million copies expected. So just this screw up early on cost them about, according to the analysts at least, is going to cost them about 4.5 million sales over the first year.
And that says nothing, Yod, about what this does to a company's reputation.
Right.
Well, it kind of does, actually. That actually kind of is part of it, yeah.
I mean, yeah, the reputation is tied into probably just, their stocks and all that stuff.
But from a consumer standpoint, I'm separating this from the stock issues because generally the people buying the product aren't the ones that own stock. Like none of the 3 of us buying Cyberpunk own stock. Why I'm separating these two is from our perspective, I'm talking about their reputation with you, Jason, as the consumer. As being a good company or one that makes sound decisions as far as game releases, produces good product, treats their employees right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I get that the two are intertwined, and please understand where I'm coming from saying the 2 different things here. I've seen people
Cyberpunk on my Steam wish list, and I've taken it off now because I don't want to get it. Not now. So
I've seen people say though that like EA and other companies like with Anthem and EA BioWare and stuff like that it didn't damage their reputation. It did. It did.
Yeah.
It definitely did.
Their rep just wasn't that high to begin with.
CD Projekt Red has a good rep.
Exactly. EA
going into this, that's why there is that notion, right, of, hey, they'll fix this. I'm not worried about it. Maybe I don't buy it now, but I'll probably get this later because they'll fix it, Jason. It's CD Projekt Red.
So is what are they going to talk about later on the the thing that bothers me though is how they were talking prior to this, how, I don't know if it's on the notes later or maybe I missed it, about how we've been testing it on the PS4 or Xbox One. It's working really well, a lot better than we expected. Like they're saying that like 2 or 3 weeks before. That's the sort of thing that bothers me.
Yes,
being buggy or whatever. Okay, that's kind of crappy, but I can't answer to that. I'm not a programmer. I don't know what it takes to do that. But when you're saying that kind of stuff, and then you launch this, that's the part that really damages their reputation in my mind. Because now you wonder how much you can trust them on anything else later.
I agree. And we haven't gotten to where I would make that particular point yet. What really, really bothered me. I didn't remember them saying like, referencing performance on the old consoles prior to launch. I didn't have any recollection of that.
Yeah.
Yod, so what do? You go into damage control, right? And they pulled the trigger on starting refunds.
Okay.
But as it turns out, they actually didn't talk to Microsoft or Sony in particular about actually offering refunds when the majority of the product sold was digitally sold via the game stores. So
That is a problem.
Sony predictably was not giving refunds, particularly when CD Projekt Red is pushing updates as fast as they can. And I don't think it would have taken a neurosurgeon to see this one coming.
Right. Yeah.
That's all you got to say. Just yep.
It's. I mean, what more is there to say? You don't tell your distributor company that you're gonna issue refunds, and they just go, well, yeah.
No, I mean, if you bought it from GOG, then yeah, you're fine, right? I mean, that's owned by CD Projekt Red. If they want to give refunds on there, again, they weren't particularly specifically in that initial statement talking about PC refunds. That came later. In that initial statement, it was about the consoles. But yeah, you have control over GOG. You want to give a refund? Great.
Yeah.
You don't have control over Sony and Microsoft,
Exactly.
Jason.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you see some of the responses people were getting when they tried to file for the refund from Sony, like, oh, just sorry, we can't refund right now. You'll have to wait until January or February when they're going to fix it or whatever. And that did not go over well.
Yeah. I apologize for the inconvenience. As the content has been used, a refund cannot be made. This is Sony support people putting things on YouTube. I apologize for the inconvenience. As the content has been used, it cannot be made. They're saying it does not work. They're saying, I'm sorry. I understand your frustration. Please wait a moment. Well, since they have released 2 content updates since your initial purchase, these issues should be resolved. No, so this didn't go over well, and let's just put a pin in this one, because we do have to come back to the Sony refunds in a moment, but we're just trying to do this chronologically for all of you. So shit goes to hell. Sony, CD Projekt Red starts offering refunds that they can't really guarantee. Sony is denying them. Microsoft seems to be a little more flexible, but there's no real official word on that yet. And that led to, we're going to come back to the Sony portion, because that basically led to an emergency investor call. And when you lose $1 billion worth of wealth and all of a sudden are actively saying, if you want a refund, you can go get it, Jason, I'm sure investors are a little concerned with what's going on at that point.
You say emergency investor call. I'm just imagining the Among Us symbol when they emergency meeting, slam the button.
Across the screen.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna toss a CEO off the airlock. But yeah, they had to call an emergency meeting and get a lot of people on there and answer a lot of difficult questions that could not have been very comfortable. And I read through some of this. I'm just like, ugh. Made my skin crawl reading some of these.
Yeah, this is where so Jason, like I said, I did not remember them saying, touting the original or the last gen console performance prior to launch. Had I, then I probably would have already had the same feeling that you described earlier. This call, reading the 8-page transcript, is where I started going, ooh, maybe this company that I've always thought of in a generally good light, Yod, maybe they don't have the reputation that I perceive them to have. Or maybe they don't deserve, I should say, the reputation that I and others perceive them to have. It was very, very weird. And I'm gonna tell you the one that did it for me. The one that did it for me.
I was going to say, tell us the story, Mike, about this call log.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the one that did it for me. I just got to make sure. I know it was Michael that said it. I just got to make sure it was, I think it was question 3. Yeah. So, investors were given the chance to ask questions. A general recurring theme throughout this was, I have 3 questions. Every single person.
Every time I hear that when I listen to like the NCSoft like quarterly
I have
reports,
3.
the same thing. Yeah.
And I'm not going to read you the entire thing, but question number 3 was asked. I said, couple of questions, if I may. Firstly, your earlier comment about the board being too focused on delivering the game and ignoring problems with old gen. Should we take it that you had found it was very important that the game shouldn't be delayed into next year, or simply that you had always wanted to deliver the game and not delay it, and you just underestimated the extent to which the last-gen version was not going to be the way it should be? That person obviously asked 2 more questions, but that's the question I want you to focus specifically on here, because this kind of made me go, ugh. Should we take it that you had found it was very important that the game shouldn't be delayed into next year, or simply that you had always wanted to deliver the game and not delay it, and you just underestimated the extent to which the last version was not going to be the way it should be? Everybody understand where we're at now?
Mm-hmm.
Was this decision made because you didn't want to delay it, or did you think it was ready and ready to go? You just underestimated the performance on the last gen.
FYI, I'm putting a link in chat to the article that talked about them doing that. It's gonna be a long link,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, don't know if that. Yeah, that works. Okay.
Michael Nowakowski from CD Projekt Red chimes in on that first question and says, first, your question about the focus and the cause of ours ignoring, so to speak, the shortcomings of the current gen version. It is more about us looking, as was previously stated, because they did say this earlier in the call, at the PC and next-gen performance rather than the current gen. We definitely did not spend enough time looking at that. I wouldn't say that we felt any external or internal pressure to launch on the date other than the normal pressure, which is typical for any release. So that was not the cause. In terms of the certification process and the third parties, because that question did kind of further evolve into, don't you have to send these to Sony and Microsoft for cert? And if there's bugs in it, they don't cert it, or do they rely on what you say? In terms of the certification process and the third parties, that is definitely on our side. I can only assume that they, Sony and Microsoft, trusted that we're going to fix things upon release, and that obviously did not come together exactly as we had planned. What a terrible look. And we're not even done yet. We're not done yet. But what a terrible look, Jason. Let's not forget, gang, there were only 3 SKUs. 2 of them were specifically last-gen console SKUs that just happened to have a little bit of an update to take advantage of some of the current gen or the new gen stuff. The new gens weren't done, but they were so busy looking at the PC version and the PS5 and the Xbox Series X versions, which aren't coming out until next year, that 2 of their 3 primary SKUs got pushed out the door in this condition, Jason.
Apparently, from what I've read from some other developers, saying that's not that unusual that a game might have bugs or whatever before it gets through going through the certification for Sony and Microsoft, and that, as he said, they expect they can patch it up before the game goes live, which has led some people to think that maybe that process needs to be changed a little bit.
As far as the certification with Sony or Microsoft?
Yeah. In other words, they shouldn't be allowed to go through, even if they're going to have a day 1 patch or whatever, because, again, this is a case where you can better believe the next time when the PS5 version comes out and an Xbox Series XS comes out, they are not going to get that benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely.
Sony or those companies are going to want to make sure it is right and it is perfect. And if you have to wait another day or 2, tough shit,
Yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't even like they specifically acknowledged, no, we didn't feel any pressure to make sure it came out December 10th, any more than the normal pressure of, hey, we said December 10th, let's try to get our game out on December 10th. They specifically called out, we didn't have any external, i.e., press or Sony or Microsoft, investors. Or internal. Well, the internal, I would put more investors in that category. They've got skin in the game. The internal pressure of, they're acknowledging, no, we didn't have any pressure that you have to get this out in December. Now, granted, I can understand they wanted to. I definitely can understand that. They had already
Yeah.
delayed it multiple times. They don't want that look. I get it. But I think in hindsight, they probably would prefer that look now.
I would say so, but I also have to say, what? You mean a game being released complete without the need for patches? When was the last time we ever saw that? Also, it makes me kind of wonder if these additions they added to take advantage of the next generation systems might have been last minute things that they tacked on that's actually what's messing up the game.
I don't know how you miss the mark like this, though, Jason. Like, there is a difference between, hey, there were COVID-related, which they mentioned COVID in this damn thing, too. Particularly in QA testing is where they mentioned QA in this call. That, hey, we could have had some more QA testing if it weren't for COVID. This isn't a QA thing. Like, this isn't. This was found within hours of people playing the game that its frame rate it cannot be controlled and it's not performing. These aren't bugs that if you would have had some more QA, they asked in the investor call, would we be having these problems? Could we have given you 200 or 300 more people for the last 2 or 3 months? By the way, that doesn't work, gang, from a programming standpoint. As a software engineer myself, that is called Brooks's Law. That does not work. When you add people to a project that is running late, it is probably going to make it later, actually, not earlier. You had to have known. Like, I'm at a loss for words. How could you not know? It reeks to me, and I don't know if this is the case. I think in reporting coming out, in the next week, next month, over the next couple of months, we're probably going to get a peek behind this curtain and find out there were warning signs and flags galore inside the team that the upper management just didn't take, because I cannot believe that somebody didn't go, hey, Jason, come over here. This son of a bitch ain't running. We put it in the Xbox. It doesn't turn on. Like, somebody saw this.
I'm thinking the more and more we hear about this, the more and more we talk about it. I think this was a classic case of asking forgiveness and not permission. Like,
Yeah.
I do think they knew about a lot of this, but said, because we talk about, they're going to downgrade their investment for their expectation from 30 million to 25 million copies. They're probably still thinking 25 million copies. That ain't bad. It'll be buggy. We'll get a few. Like Yad said, these games are always buggy. Well, whatever. It'll be a little bit of problem. We'll have a day one patch or a day two, maybe even the first week or so. Whatever. People will get a little mad. There'll be memes on Reddit and whatever. But it'll be fine. We're still going to make tons of money, sell tons of copies. No worse than any other game launch, with a few bugs here and there. I think that was what they probably expected. I didn't expect it would be nearly as bad as all this.
You had one question asker, interviewer, I guess. It seemed like they were trying to, like, pin them in I don't know. The question was like, did you count the pre-installs in your pre-orders? And, like, or I guess they were trying to, like, make them look silly and say they were inflating the 8 million. I don't know. But their reply was, to pre-install the game, you would have had to pre-order it. So, yeah,
kind of.
They're in there. I think what they might have been trying to ask was, like, did you count them twice? Did you count, hey, I got 7 million pre-orders and 1 million people preloaded it. That makes 8 million sales. I don't think they would have made that mistake, but I think that's what the interviewer was trying to ask and did it in a real assholey way. Anyway, other questions here that leap off the page. Hello, I wanted to ask about the shape of the game after optimization that's possible in February. That's the time frame they're looking at, by the way. You said that it would be possible to play, but what price points can we expect? Obviously, it might be a smaller game if it's not fully comparable to the PC version, so perhaps comment on that. And also, could you have released the game without including the old-gen consoles if that version was unacceptable? I.e., if you have done testing, Jason, on the PC and the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and those are looking all great, but you've kind of on the old ones to the point that they're not, and you don't know it or you don't want to acknowledge it, could you have just axed the PS4 and the Xbox One versions? And I'll answer that question for you right away. Nope. Nope. You can't. You've pre-sold millions of those units. But let's set that aside for a minute, because there's another reason you can't do it, and we've already mentioned it. Michael answers this one. I'm not sure I fully understand your question, so if I'm answering something different than what you asked, feel free to correct me. In terms of the shape of the game after optimization, we pretty much said it earlier in the call, i.e. the game will have no crashes, the main bugs will be eliminated, and we're looking to improve both performance and graphic fidelity. That's going to be spread out across various patches, and of course, a pretty important update will happen this month. Actually, the game is playable right now. That may be an important thing to state, because it's not like the game does not launch or is unplayable. I fully understand that the experience is far from satisfactory for a lot of people, and we do acknowledge that, but not playable sounds like it doesn't launch at all, which is not the case. That is not what anybody in this circumstance means by unplayable.
No.
Look, I know your car maxes out at 10 miles per hour. That doesn't mean it's like it doesn't run. You can drive to grandma's 200 miles away. I mean, it still runs, it still starts, but geez.
It continues. Versus PC again, this is something we have stated before. You cannot expect PC-like or next-gen-like performance on last gens, and we're not claiming that. I'm not sure I fully understood the context of the question concerning the difference in price points. They were really just asking, by February, would the game be cheaper? Because if it is, then if people pre-ordered it and in 2 months it's cheaper, you're going to probably have a lot of angry customers. That was what they were trying to get to. And then asking if they could release without the old versions. The answer there is obviously no. Why? We alluded to it. They only had 3 launch SKUs. There was no way to separate their PS5 and Xbox Series X versions out into their own versions, because those two aren't slated to be ready until next year. They're not ready. There is no PS5 version that they could have just launched with. They had to launch with the PS4 version if they wanted to launch on a PlayStation system at all in December. And that's what they go on in the transcript. Read it. At the end of the day, Jason, there were things said in there, some of which I've pointed out, some of which I haven't, that just made me go, I really like this company. I have always really liked this company. I have always liked their work. I've always liked the way they've responded to situations and fixed things. But Jesus, this is just horrible direction at the top levels in this company. And to be saying this stuff just 100% proves it. The Stadia is the best running version of the game, Ninja. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
That's kind of sad.
Sorry, go ahead,
I don't know
Jason.
what you want me to say. I can't disagree with you, man. Maybe if you're taking 8 years to make a game, you shouldn't be. That's what I get. Maybe what I get out of this is like, if it's taking you that long, you got some issues. You got some organizational issues.
Yod, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Anything,
Anything in the investors' notes that really struck you as going, oh my God?
It's just painful. It's just all painful.
It's general pain.
Yeah, it's just
20 little punches to the gut.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you there. It's just, wow.
Yeah. And no joke, the Stadia is like the most solidly running version of the game.
I wonder if it runs on the Ouya.
Oh, God. Now,
O-Box.
we're only finding out about this yesterday via Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, the man, the myth, the legend himself. But we've got to cover this now, because in the timeline, this is where this happens. They offer the refunds. They have the investor call after they lose $1 billion worth of worth. Before that, or after those events, but before things we already know about, apparently CD Projekt Red has a little bit of a rebellion going on inside the company, Jason.
Yeah, apparently some people, some employees on the call, on the meeting or whatever, they voiced some displeasure with how things went, and I can't really blame them. Where was the actual? Where's the link to that? Was that actually in the show notes though?
Yes. Boop. Right. Whoop. Nope, not that
That's
one.
the investor call.
Yeah. Hold on. Right here.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, let's see. What would the example? Developers ask blunt questions about the company's reputation, the game's unrealistic deadlines, and the relentless overtime in the months and years leading up to the game's release. So yeah, as it goes, if you work your guys to the bone for a year and then they get with the promise that they're building a great game that everyone's going to love, and then that's not a great game that everyone loves, they might get a little angry with you. They might bring out the torches and pitchforks. So,
Here's
yeah,
a quote for you, Yad. One employee asked the board why it had said in January that the game was complete and playable when that wasn't true, to which the board answered that it would take responsibility. Another developer asked whether CD Projekt's directors felt it was hypocritical to make a game about corporate exploitation while expecting that their employees work overtime. The response was vague and non-committal.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with the fact that the game is about corporate greed and all that stuff. That's
if
hilarious.
If they get that $1 billion back, it should go to the employees.
Right, but it's not gonna.
No, of course not.
And I mean,
no, but they're going to take responsibility.
Right, take responsibility.
Oh.
Right, just like all the other corporations, video game companies that are saying, no, we don't treat our employees horrible. They don't need to, gather together and make standards for this industry. Although, isn't that what, everybody's been talking about a lot lately, is the fact that the video game industry does need standards and, not to work their devs to the bone and then throw them to the wayside when they're burnt out.
But man, and when the stories about that broke about a month ago, a lot of people on Twitter were like, yeah, but this is different. This is CD Projekt Red.
The bad company's bad company. Come on. Yeah.
After this, Sony decided, you know what? Fine, fuck it. We'll give the refunds. But we're going to do something else, too. We're going to go ahead and pull this from the PlayStation Store.
Like I said yesterday on the cast, first was Crucible, the launch and unlaunch, and now we've got Cyberpunk doing the same thing.
Oof. Pulling your marquee title off of its marquee digital store the week of Christmas. Cyberpunk released a statement on Twitter afterwards saying, following our discussion with PlayStation, a decision was made to temporarily suspend digital distribution of Cyberpunk 2077 on the PlayStation Store. I'm sure it was a decision that Cyberpunk had a lot of say in.
Right.
You can still buy physical versions of the game in brick-and-mortar stores and online. All purchased digital and physical copies of the game will continue to receive support and updates as we continue to improve your experience. According to our knowledge, starting today, everyone who is not willing to wait for updates and wants to refund their digital copy of the game can do so by submitting a request, and provides a link for Sony. We're working hard to bring Cyberpunk 2077 back to the PlayStation Store as soon as possible. On top of that, CD Projekt Red itself, under all this fire from the refunds, has issued statements drastically opening up the refund policy to not just PlayStation and Xbox digital stores, but also physical copies that if you weren't able to get refunds from Best Buy or Amazon or whatever, GOG has opened it up. So they're specifically targeting the hard-to-refund console versions of the game, saying if you can't get a refund, email this email address for CD Projekt Red by December 21st. If you do, they'll contact you later with asking for proof of receipt and stuff, but they have offered we'll refund you out of our own pockets if we have to. So if you are, particularly on the PlayStation and on the Xbox, having a hard time, whether it's physical or digital now, not just digital, having a hard time getting a refund, make sure you send that email because there's a small window of being able to get that email. You won't have to send anything but, hey, I want a refund. You'll get a generic reply, and then after the 21st, as they start going through them, if they need more documentation, a receipt of purchase, stuff like that, they'll email you and ask for them. That's not a good look, which I'm sure is going to lead to more investor calls.
Well, they have a.
So
Go
what
ahead.
happens to your digital copy once you get a refund? I've been wondering this. Do they take it back somehow?
Well, if you get it through Steam or not through Steam, if you get it through the PlayStation Store, then it's like the same thing that happens on Steam. When you get a refund, it's yanked from your account there. So if you have something installed on your actual hard drive, it doesn't run anymore. It has an invalid key and won't run.
Okay, so you can't play it anymore.
Yeah, you can't play it anymore.
What happens when you get a physical copy and you get a refund?
Well, that's the thing. Like, what is gonna if you bought it from Best Buy and Cyberpunk is saying we're gonna refund you and you provide proof of receipt, I don't know. Like, do they want you to mail back your physical copy of Cyberpunk, or are they just gonna eat this at that point and say, you know?
I just saw copies at Target earlier today.
Yeah.
Can I just go buy a copy and go, hey, CD Projekt Red, give me money?
You know, I probably wouldn't be that much of an asshole to him right now. Like, I'm not a fan right now.
You don't want to kick the floating dead horse?
Yeah, no. I think doing this show today is enough of kicking the horse. I don't think I'm going to go that far.
Wake up, Samurai. We got a company to burn.
Oh, by the way, if you're playing, be careful. Apparently, one of the bugs that is now being discovered, in addition to just really amazing bugs in-game, is that if your save file reaches at least or 8 megabytes or more in size, it will corrupt. Like, not be recoverable corrupt. This is reported on DualShockers and acknowledged by the GOG.com support center. Save file data is damaged and cannot be loaded. Error. Unfortunately, the save is damaged, can't be recovered. This is from GOG. Please use an older save file to continue playing and try to keep a lower amount of items and crafting materials. We'll come to that in a second. If you have used the item duplication glitch, something you should definitely put in warnings, right? Please load a save file not affected by it. The save file size might might be increased in one of the future patches, but the corrupted files will remain that way.
Damn.
So apparently what's causing this one, gang, is the crafting system. Every item you craft adds to the save file size. And through trial and error online, users have located 8 MB as the magic tipping point that will corrupt your save file. Not only can that not be saved or undone, you have to use a previous file. And if you're single saving, good, have fun, because you just started the game over. You cannot even go in and remove crafted items to try and load. It doesn't, once they're in there even if you dismantle the items, the save file size does not reduce at that point. So there is no way to go back in and fix that. And even GOG saying, by the way, GOG, for those of you that don't know, owned by CD Projekt. So
that's crazy.
Okay. They're acknowledging, yeah. So that's one that they're going to have to be fixed real quick. And Jason, when it rains, it pours. They're under fire for a totally separate topic as well.
Yeah, so there's a game called Devotion by a Chinese developer called Red Candle Games. It's a like atmospheric horror game. And GOG was going to put it on their storefront. In fact, they announced that it was on the storefront. And then a few hours later, it got taken off. The reason being...
Now, this was after, like, GOG was like a hero, right? Because the game got pulled from a bunch of places and went away, and people wanted it back, and GOG picked it up.
Mm-hmm. But they got it taken off. They said because it was of complaints from gamers, messages from gamers. After receiving many messages from gamers, we've decided not to list the game in our store. So, what gamers would be causing that kind of issue? What do you think it could be? What do you think?
It's a horror game. Maybe it's the violence. Maybe it's blood. Maybe it's gore. Maybe
no, it's Winnie the Pooh.
Sex. What?
Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, Jesus
I'm
Christ.
I'm sorry, what?
Winnie the Pooh is the problem.
It's Winnie the Pooh.
So Winnie the Pooh is a sort of derogatory way that people describe the president, prime minister, whatever he is. I don't know, the leader
President.
of China.
Yeah,
Sorry,
leader,
whatever he's
I
called.
think is what he goes by
It's,
now.
yeah, it's
A leader, a
president.
glorious leader, whatever, sure.
Yeah.
And apparently, in an early version of the game, there was a little bit of text, they called it a placeholder, Red Candle did, that made a reference to him as Winnie the Pooh. And that got it bombed the hell out of, review bombed the hell off of Steam, basically. And then they apologized for it, said, no, we didn't mean to put that there. They took it out. So eventually, and here they are coming back later. They put it on GOG, and just hours later, GOG said there are messages from gamers that made them removed from the store.
All right, Yad, I got to put you on the spot here, buddy.
Yep.
Is this? I'm gonna give you a heads tails type thing here.
Okay.
Is this explosive gamer feedback that this game should not be there, or is this CD Projekt in the throes of a bit of financial turmoil, making a gut decision of the last thing we need to do right now is get GOG banned in China?
I would say it's the latter. It's a stupid move, but it would be the latter because it would probably cut the number of people downloading and buying off the store by a lot because there are a lot of people in China that
Really? Do you have a source
purchase
for
and play
that?
video games.
Do you have a source for that?
Um,
Cite your source for a lot of people in China.
We like to procreate a lot.
Have you seen
Okay.
Americans?
There's not as much to do in China as there is to do in America. So you play video games, you go to work, and you procreate. Okay?
All right.
But I think it's idiotic. I think if you look like Winnie the Pooh, you should own the fact that you look like fucking Winnie the Pooh. Sorry about the swear word there.
Oh, he hates that. I mean, he.
Oh,
is
yeah,
like-
he does,
he's
and I love it.
absolutely hates that.
It's
See if we can- let's see if we
amazing.
can get YouTube banned in China. Get YouTube
Oh yeah.
banned.
But yeah, it is a move that a lot of video game companies do make to try to appease the CCP so they can remain circulating over there since they don't have the relative freedom of the internet that we do over here in America. I mean, it's their freaking security system for what they can and can't see is insane. Back in the day, Blizzard had to have their own version of Warcraft for them to play, where the bones don't show on the undead.
Yeah, and stuff like
A lot
that
of games
is
have
not.
that.
Yeah, the stuff like that is not all that out of the ordinary. As
that's a
far as
cultural
getting your
thing.
game, that's a
that's more of
cultural thing
that's
more
of
than
a cultural thing. But the Winnie the Pooh thing is not-
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3
right.
which has actual Winnie the Pooh in the game, like real
Right.
Winnie the Pooh. They had to like blur him out, or like put like a glow over him so they couldn't
Yeah,
be
he's-
seen in the Chinese version.
He's that touchy about that stuff.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
he's really touchy about it.
Yeah,
hilarious.
that goes beyond just cultural things.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
personal. That's Communist Party BS.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't, Jason, I can't see this any other way as capitulation to the Chinese market.
yeah.
The same way we saw with, Blizzard. I can't see that situation with Blizzard and Hearthstone player banning way back when earlier this year.
yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
In a different light. Like, as much as you want to say this has nothing to do with being in the Chinese market, it has everything to do with being in the Chinese market.
And of course, since we've now talked about this and has said some bad things about the CCP, all three of us are going to disappear.
Oh no, this show will never air in China.
No, we're not going to be anywhere.
So
They'll
we don't have
find
to
a
worry
way.
about
Hmm.
that. All right. So let's leave the topic. It's so sad that we just spent like 45 minutes talking about Cyberpunk in that way. And here's my thing at the end of the day. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's everything it's meant to be. We're going to kind of skip some things in the interest of time, but we've seen some nice videos of pedestrians disappearing in, Here's video
mean-
from Hans Vonderkroon on YouTube of pedestrians just disappearing when you fire a gun in the air, and they cower just by turning away. They'll disappear, and vehicles despawning. So like the AI doesn't seem to be this extraordinary thing that they hyped it up to be.
Right.
And that's on them too. Here, watch. You'll see bang, bang, bang. They're going to fire all these pedestrians, fire up in the air, and there's cowering pedestrians, and then nobody. Yeah,
They're hiding really well.
Yeah.
They're hiding
Yeah.
extremely well.
Yeah.
They just
So-
managed.
There's all kinds of stuff in the game here that's but yeah, story-wise, I want to see where it goes. I don't not want to play it. I just don't want to play it right now.
Right.
I mean,
It's
after-
got to wait for me. Jason,
After
go
all the years we've been covering MMOs and MMORPGs, like the one thing I have learned, if I know the lesson, is that no massively hyped game can ever live up to it. Not ever.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between not living up to it and releasing non-functional or barely functional models, and also
but even-
presenting things in a way that aren't true and you know they aren't true. If in January you said this game is done and you knew it wasn't, you're in the wrong, and it doesn't matter
Sure.
whether you live up to the hype or not. If you advertise this revolutionary open world AI, and then you know that this is why it's revolutionary, because cars disappear because they have no AI
That's
pathing
revolutionary.
system.
That's different.
That
That's
is it's certainly different. That is, I agree with you, but I think this falls in a little bit of a different bucket than just not living up to the hype. All right, let's talk about some other stuff and then call it a day.
Yeah.
Actually, call it a year. Since this is our last
It is,
episode
yeah,
of
it is.
2020. Next Friday's Christmas. The following Friday is New Year, so we will have both of those Saturdays off. All shows for the next 2 weeks are off. So Snowbound on Tuesday, Relic Grind Thursday, Gaming Gumbo on Saturday. However, most streamers, including myself, will be streaming in their dedicated time slots. So make sure you follow twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio so you can get all the notifications on who's streaming. Check out your favorite streamers, your favorite games, or just come and hang out with us. We would love to have you, and bring your friends. The more followers, the better. We're closing in on 300 followers. When we get to 500 followers, we have the one chip challenge for 3 Rocket League players eating that 1 million plus Scoville unit chip and then trying to play Rocket League while
You're
crying.
gonna have to fun that night.
Yep. Finishing it off, the UK, we've talked on this show before about politicians trying to help out with the scalping situation of PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X. And it seems like the UK has a group of politicians that are going to try and take aim at this, similarly to the way that they controlled event ticket scalping with some additional laws and things like that. But Yad, I can only think that, like, yeah, okay, maybe that type of legislation needs to be in place, but it's not really going to be realistically in place enough to do anything about this particular launch.
Yeah, you set up you set up a law like that, and how do you actually enforce that? You know, do you have to go check every single order placed? That's more of a distributor thing that the distributor has to check, isn't it? Not the government.
I would
Well,
assume
they've
you
done
nail the
similar laws
sales.
with the event tickets, though, Jason, and things like that.
Yeah, like I would assume they go on, eBay or whatever, and then they nail people who, or they tell eBay to take that down because it's illegal because they're selling the PlayStation for $800 or whatever. That's where I assume they would get it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody's dumb enough to buy it for that much, that's resale. I mean, I could technically sell my PlayStation 4 original with PT on it for over $800 or whatever because somebody wants it with PT on it. But I legally bought that as my PlayStation.
Well,
problem
they're
is
they're
some
specifically addressing here, though, the use of bots. Yes,
Right, exactly.
and mass purchases. They're not like restricting resale ability. Like if you want to buy one for $500 and sell it to Jason for $700, they're not going to be stopping you from doing that.
Exactly.
They may take a look at exorbitant price gouging if you buy it for $500 and put it on eBay for $1,500, $1,200, stuff like that. But what's more being targeted by the UK politicians, and by the way, this still has to go through debate. Maybe it won't even make it to debate. This is a handful of UK politicians who want to take action on this. Whether or not they actually do is another story, and when they do, if it becomes a law or an enforceable thing, like, it's not going to matter for Christmas at all. It's not going to matter probably for the next year, if that.
Right.
If not that.
What about the previous thing that we talked about in one of the last shows, where this guy has got a group of other people sitting there physically hitting the button? I mean, it's not a bot; it's a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So how do you stop them? You know?
Jason, you think it's worth exploring?
Probably not for as limited a time as it's a useful thing, and just the fact that it probably isn't going to prevent a lot of the issues that people are having, like we've alluded to.
Yod, have you purchased your Mass Effect or pre-ordered your Mass Effect? Because it is up for pre-order, the Legendary Edition.
I know it's up for pre-order, but I would like it to go a little further first and see what all the different versions are being offered. Because right now there's not even any box art. I mean,
oh, so it's like you learned something from CD Projekt Red situation.
Hey.
Or maybe from Mass Effect Andromeda's situation. Jason, are you going to buy this, Jason?
Might.
You might.
Not right away. I'm not going to pay the $60 for it. Maybe I'll pick it up later. And although the problem I have with Mass Effect is I played through it again. Like, I played through about 1 or 2. I don't remember which one. And I started as my original game was a female shepherd being a renegade. So let me try a male shepherd as a paragon. And it didn't feel right.
I can't
felt like
play.
I was playing a different game. It's like if I played The Witcher, but instead of Geralt, I was Lara Croft. It's like that doesn't work.
Yeah, you can't. I can't play the male shepherd.
Yeah, like I can't.
It's like because of the motion capture and stuff they did. I think they actually meant for shepherd to be female.
It's not even that. It's just the fact that it's a different story to me.
Well,
it's
that
a
too.
completely different story. And I don't want that.
Well, that's the whole thing about Mass Effect and how you can create your own character, male or female or whatever. But my problem is with the way that they motion captured everything. Like in 2, you're talking to Jacob, right? He's the badass black soldier guy that you can, as a female, you can romance, or more to the effect you have to beat him off with a stick, because every other conversation is you want to hook up. But you play a male character and you're in that same pose talking to him, so you're thrusting your crotch at him. And it's like, I can't stare at that for some reason. I mean, if that's your thing, cool, but I can't do it.
Well, now I gotta play as a male.
That's really weird, because the 1.5 Mass Effects that I have played, I was male shepherd. So, I'm listening to you talk, like it's not all that weird. I've seen it.
I mean, he's like relaxing on the bench with his arms.
That's the way I walk around the house. In fact, I don't know what's stopping me from doing the podcast like that.
Oh, no. Sit down.
All right.
But yeah, no, I'm going to wait till, maybe they'll have some kind of ultra special edition with, metal.
Stick says there's 3 versions of the game. They're all the same, but they come in 3 different colored boxes. Boy, what a way to rake collectors under the coals.
That would hurt.
Oof. Oof.
Ooh, yeah.
What else do I got here? Oh, this is fun. You want some cheery holiday news?
Yeah.
Some this is coming from multiple sources. Michigan. Wow, I'm really unfortunate that I chose that one to link. Michigan man stabs parents after they asked him to turn off a video game.
Okay.
Later, the stepfather died.
So I did grow up in Michigan. Spent about 20 years there of my life. It is an interesting state. I do agree with you on the show notes. I did not expect the age.
Yeah, so here's the thing. When you read that headline that a man stabbed his mother and stepfather after being asked to turn off a video game, and the stepfather later dies, by the way, so charges are all over the place. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. It's you don't expect the age The age was 29. We're not talking about an 18-year-old. We're not talking about a 16-year-old. We're not talking about even a 21-year-old. We're talking about somebody that was getting ready to celebrate their 30th birthday. And if this story couldn't get any more really bizarre, Yod already alluded to it. Authorities say McKinney's 66-year-old mother and 71-year-old stepfather asked him to turn off the video game he was playing in their room so they could go to sleep. He was playing a video game in his mother's bedroom. They asked him to turn it off so they could go to sleep. Again, this is all alleged. Charges are outstanding at the moment because some of them may be changing due to the stepfather dying after the fact.
Yeah.
In response, he allegedly punched his mother in the face and hit his stepdad. Quote, he punched his mom in her face, breaking her nose. He punched his stepdad several times, so his stepdad went and retrieved a knife from the kitchen to try to defend himself and his wife. McKinney somehow got the knife away from him and then stabbed his mother and stepdad. This being said by Madison Heights Police Chief Corey Haynes.
Yeah.
I hate this planet.
Yeah.
I absolutely
This
hate
is our
this
weekly
planet.
What is Wrong with People segment.
Yeah,
Right?
really, we always have one. Like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with
I mean-
people? Go ahead, Yad.
In their bedroom? That
Why is the gaming console in their bedroom?
Maybe
Right.
they like
Like-
to play. Look, maybe mom and dad like to play. Who knows?
That's
Maybe they do Mario
fine.
Kart together.
But at a certain time at night, if you want to keep playing, you take the console and you go in the living room.
Well, the TV's in there too. They don't have a TV otherwise.
Can you imagine
don't
like
know.
being so angry that your 61-year-old
That too.
mother says, "Hey, can you turn that off? I'd like to go to bed." That your immediate response is to turn around and cold cock her in the face.
Right. At almost 30.
Like, how angry of a person do you have to be for that to be the de facto response, Jason? Ah!
Maybe he just lost a match.
Oh, he was probably playing Rocket League. The game's fucking toxic.
Yeah.
Let's end some good news. I didn't want to end the show there. I didn't want to
No.
end it there.
No.
So I've got two more things for you. First off, Riot Games is reportedly working on an MMO, probably an MMORPG. And if you needed a source on this one, well, I mean, a little person named Ghostcrawler will happen to be that source. Greg Street, formerly of Blizzard fame, Ghostcrawler fame. Yeah. Apparently, he tweeted out, now obviously working at Blizzard.
Riot.
Riot, yeah. I have news. My recent job at Riot has been to help develop the League universe, which we're going to need. Because it is time, my new job is to kick off a big, some might say massive, game that many Rioters have been asking us to create. P.S. We're hiring. So if there weren't enough tips in there, Rochelle on Twitter, at Rochelle LOL, says, "Tell me now, is it an MMO? Will I be able to pick my waifu's clothes and hairstyle?" To which Greg Street replies, "It is an MMO."
Just to clarify.
Just to clarify.
clarify.
Now, he does not answer about, customizing your waifu or anything,
Wow.
but
No.
does clarify that it is an MMO. Jason and I kind of speculated on the free-to-play cast on Friday, which is on YouTube, on mmobomb.com and Twitter, or our YouTube channel for MMOBomb, that, yeah, it's probably an MMORPG, and going by something you guys and Rioters have been asking for a long time, it's probably an MMORPG in the League of Legends universe, which gives them almost the ample amount of lore that Blizzard walked into World of Warcraft with to start creating another universe.
Yeah, I'd like to complain though that you didn't link to the MMO Bomb article in the show notes. I worked on that, and you linked to Polygon. Come on, man. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to give them the hits. We're the number one site on the internet.
Oh,
I was
right,
helping
yeah.
out the number two.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even a League of Legends player, but I'm interested to see where this goes, to see what they finally do now that they've been like I said, they've been asked about this for at least the better part of the last decade. So I want to see what they do with it.
Yod, are you a League of Legends guy?
I'm not a League of Legends guy.
I can
mostly
imagine
because
you're
I
all over
don't-
their art, though.
Right. I don't like the gameplay. I find their players toxic, but I love their design work, and I love the little story bits they put in there and the little music videos and all that stuff when they announce new costumes and stuff like that. It's great work. And if it was an MMO, I'd probably jump into it. Check it out, definitely. Whether it takes over Final Fantasy,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely not going to do that for me. But again,
Right.
Jason and I were on the same page here, not generally being huge into League of Legends itself as a game. There are characters that we think look cool and maybe
Right.
some lore that we would like to get into for certain characters. So I'm absolutely on board checking it out. Final
Exactly.
piece of news. Since we have no Snowbound coming up on Tuesday, I thought I'd throw this in here. Diablo Immortal is entering a very, very small technical alpha, predominantly in Australia. So get out your cell phones. Confirmed free to play. Confirmed a lot of features in the game, including, hey, you can run it as much time as you want. You can loot as much time as you want, but they're going to sell some items that'll let you run increased difficulties and things like that. You can farm those items in game, but you buy them. They'll have a season pass. I still don't care at all about this one. I really just don't have an opinion on it because I don't intend to play it, and I think that's opinion enough for me. What would you think of the announcement, Jason?
I mean, yeah, same thing. I'm not into Diablo, so I'm not gonna.
I like Diablo. I just have no interest in a mobile version.
I mean, I might be if it would be something that if I were, it would probably be something just to tide me over until Diablo 4 comes out.
Yod?
Finally, something to do with our cell phones. No, just kidding. I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to put it there, though, because there are a lot of people interested in it. If you're a mobile
Right.
gamer, it looks good.
Right.
Like, it looks interesting. It looks
does.
like Diablo, which is
Right.
good.
Right, and I enjoyed Diablo 2. I enjoyed the original Diablo. I enjoyed Diablo 3. I'm kind of interested in Diablo 4. I probably won't buy it day one. Like I didn't buy Diablo 3 day one, but I did end up picking it up and with all its expansions. And I mean, I enjoy the gameplay. I don't know if I'd want to play that type of game on a mobile device. They did do a really good port to PS4 from PC because 1 and 2 I played on the PC, and the 3 I got on the PS4. I didn't think I'd like it because the button differential, but they did a really good job with it. So maybe they'll do a good job with a port to mobile, but
We shall
I'm
see.
just not that interested in a mobile game.
If you're watching the show and you're in Australia, let us know in the comments below what you think if you got into the technical alpha. Chat, make sure you hang tight after the show. After the show, we got Torchwick streaming, continuing your Final Fantasy VI run. You are in the home stretch, my friend. We should tell people that Shadow is dead. Some decisions were made, and Shadow is gone, and Sid is gone. It is your first time through the game, so how's it going, and how are you doing, sir?
Well, I've only killed 2 main characters, so I imagine it could be worse. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it, except for the fact that they're dead now. I'm sorry. That's the biggest impact it's had on me recently.
You were saying to me that you didn't like some of that aspects of the game itself because there was really no warning that was a potential outcome.
Yeah, you had choices earlier when you're talking with Emperor Gestalt that sound like they should be important, and then they don't really mean anything later on. And then you've got choices like in the midst of a timed section where you're just trying to escape. That's like, or do you want to escape or do you want to stay? And it's like that seems more like a technical choice than anything. It's like, oh, if I can grind here, or maybe there's some item I missed or something. And then you leave, and apparently that choice is what kills somebody.
Dead. But you're going to be finishing, or you're going to be moving closer to the finish tonight. So chat, hang on tight. We'll have like 30 seconds dead time. Torchwick will see you in a couple of minutes. We're not going to do Game of the Week since there's going to be 3 weeks now before our next show. We will be back. You'll have the next 2 weeks off. Then we'll come and we'll sum up the holidays, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of games to recommend after the holidays. Until then, Yod, where can everybody find you, my friend?
Yacht Artworks on Twitter because you made me make it. On Facebook, in general, Yacht Artworks. You know, that's where
Jason.
On Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally there, right at MagicMan1 on Twitter, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio so you can get notifications for all of our streamers and shows. Have a happy and safe holiday. We'll see you on the service.